OTAs are sending e-blasts, so clearly they work. So do it, you guys, and you will add money to your bottom line. Thank you. You're welcome. Merry Christmas.
You're listening to the Vacation Rental Managers Podcast with Sarah and T.
Sarah stands for me, Sarah Bradford, a 15-year vacation rental company owner in Colorado who sold the company for big bucks last year.
And T stands for me, Tim Cafferty, who's still moving and shaking with two companies, Outer Banks Blue and Sandbridge Blue, in North Carolina and Virginia, respectively.
Between us, we have managed over 700 properties, making lasting memories for over 100,000 guests, and produced over 150 podcast episodes and counting, sharing all of our secrets to growing a profitable, long-lasting vacation rental company.
We like to call those secrets pullover moments, and it wouldn't be possible without support from our pullover partners, ICND, Key Data, and Sojo.
We're back and better than ever. I'm Sarah.
And I'm Tim.
And we hope everyone who went to the VRMA conference in Orlando is back safely and implementing those key takeaways that hopefully paid for their conference.
And for those of you that didn't go, hopefully you snagged a takeaway from our last episode where we interviewed over 30 attendees that shared their takeaways.
Yeah, there were some great ones in there, Tim. I re-listened to our episode, because I couldn't even remember what people had said. That was such a crazy time. And I wrote down a few things. So thank you to everyone who participated.
It's good fun.
Now that I think about it, email marketing wasn't discussed at all in that last episode. It never came up as a takeaway. And Tim and I believe it's still a very profitable tactic to garner bookings. That's what we're going to talk about today.
It is very profitable and a great tactic to garner bookings, but many out there are not quite there in terms of a profitable email marketing strategy. This takes time and creativity. Sarah, I know you are really proud of your eblasts, as you like to call them. And this is an area where I feel we've also nailed it at Blue.
I agree. I get yours. I'm on your list. I get them often. I check them out. I'm always impressed. They're a different look than ours, but they have your brand. Ours had our brand. Yours are well put on, creative, all the things we're going to talk about. So I'm going to say that you and I are well-versed enough to speak as experts on this topic. And as we will get to one of our pullover partners, ICND, we'll talk in the middle of this episode and get into a couple more techie things that we don't know how to talk about. But here we go. We have a lot of content to cover. Somehow we've never covered this before. So let's do it. And before we do, this subject requires visuals because in case you don't know, an e-blast is an email that you have to visually look at. So be sure after you listen today, not only just to subscribe to our social channels, but also be sure to check. We will be posting examples of solid e-blasts from Tim's companies and my previous company. In fact, it might even be in the videos we're showing right now. And you can find us now on YouTube. It's called the Vacation Rental Managers Podcast on YouTube. You can watch our episodes in video. Plus, we're on Instagram with lots of little clips from this and other episodes, Facebook and LinkedIn. And just another reminder, we are now called officially the Vacation Rental Managers Podcast with Sarah and T. I think you can still search up Sarah and T, but especially the YouTube channel, remember it's called the Vacation Rental Managers Podcast, and same with the Insta name. So get cool and get on there.
Yeah, we heard at Verma that people have different learning styles. And so we're helping those of you that are visual learners. And you can check out Sarah's new haircut if you check us out on the YouTube, as they say. So we're going back to our favorite format where we give you a list of items. And so today, it's the top 14 ways to blast your email marketing into a booking machine.
So first of all, Let's talk about why the heck we believe emails work to your list, because it seems like emails are sort of a thing of the past. But if you do it right and you have relevant, targeted, professional looking content that's produced to make it eye-catching, not obnoxious, you will get engagement, and everybody, you will get bookings from these eblasts. I've proven it, as we'll get into in a bit here. People accept this as a common advertising method versus texting. Like, if you text me, I am so mad. If you call me, I'm even madder. But if you e-blast me, email me, and I'm a loyal customer that likes your content, I'm kind of okay with it. So this is almost like become the snail mail of 1992.
Do people still send mail? Is that a marketing strategy?
I don't know.
I
Do
think
they?
so. I get postcards all the time from sales agents, but that's about it. And we see how the sales markets are doing these days. So before we get to the first item, think about an e-blast that you get regularly from a company that you don't unsubscribe from. You got it pictured? Think about that as we go through this list. All right, let's get on with it. Number one.
The number one is to build up your email list and segment it. I want to diverge for 1 minute and say that I think a lot of smaller companies think, I can't even start an e-blast list. I can't even start e-blasting. That sounds so complicated. Guys, it's not. You have all your previous guests in a system. And if you don't have that, stop the podcast and get that done. It is not hard to create these e-blasts. There are programs out there, Constant Contact, iContact, MailChimp. You can create templates that look gorgeous without being techie. All right. So stop with the, I can't do this. You create your lists. You get all previous guest lists. You have a list of potential guests that have inquired and haven't booked before. Maybe they didn't book with you. You better keep that email. Do it by season. Maybe everybody that's ever stayed with you or inquired for the winter or the summer. Maybe you have segmented even more. Those that were coming in big groups, those who are coming for couples. Lots of different ways you can segment your list. Build that up and grab every single email. And I'm curious what you think about this, Tim, because we didn't ask for permission. We just, anybody that inquired with us, we put them into the list and segmented it. And, you know, I recently stayed in a vacation rental with a company. And after we booked the stay, okay, so we'd given them their money and our stay was coming up in 5 or 6 months. They kept sending me promotional emails. And it actually made me wonder, Tim, if we even had a booking. I was like, why are you telling me about booking in 3 months when I've already booked? So be really careful that you don't email people coming to stay with you in a couple months. Especially don't send them an email saying, we're offering 40% off Christmas week to people that already booked for Christmas. So you have to segment your list. What do you think about that, Tim?
Absolutely. It takes work because you kind of invite people in whatever manner. And back to your point about over emailing, they'll opt out if you're not hitting the right keys there. And another list, don't miss, is there's ability to get email addresses of the other people in the party. Maybe if you have a system where they log on to the Wi-Fi in the house, they have to give an email address. You ought to have those as well. But the segmentation, we've said that about 3 or 4 times already. Segment them to make sure you know what their preferences are. And then the work comes by having to keep track of that. When they book, take them off the list, at least for that time anyway. So yes. You're right on.
The process we went through every time we sent an email is we would go through our list and kind of dedupe it, meaning take all future guests booked and make sure they were off a list that might be one we didn't want them to see, which is pretty much all of them once they book. And then once they stay, you can put them back on future stay ones. So that's a little complicated, but you got to do it. You know, I just thought of one that we did a lot, which was booking anniversary. We segmented into, we pretty much did the month they booked for whenever the heck they were going to stay. So if it was somebody that booked in November for that November, great, they were in the November list. Or if they booked in November for the following March, they were in the November list. And we sent them an e-blast that said like, your vacation's calling. And this is when you booked last time, because you're hitting that person when they normally think about going on vacation in their own world. So that was a really good one.
We're creatures of habit. And that brings us to item number 2 on our list of email blast success points. And that's consistency, top of the mind. You want to be there when it's time for them to book. And the only way to pull this off is to make sure your emails are interesting, professional, and consistent. I don't know if there's anything else to say on that.
You and I have different views on this possibly, which gets to number 3, which is frequency of sending. So make sure your e-blast in number 2, Tim, like you said, is really about branding your e-blast, having it be a certain look. It doesn't mean it has to have the same content every time, but it needs to have the same brand. Don't come up with some new template every time you send it. That email you're thinking about that Tim challenged you to think about that you don't delete and don't unsubscribe from every time, that e-blast, you don't really know it, but when it comes into your inbox, you recognize it. You know it's from that brand. It might be something you want to go look at later. You like that brand. Make sure with this consistency that you are providing good content, professional, and it has a look that people can always recognize. And it's not annoying with blinking lights. But number 3 is frequency of sending. And I think Tim and I have some different views here. So we sent e-blasts every week. When we were really on our game, we were cranking them every week. Sometimes we got busy and we just didn't send one. But when we got our marketing group on this, because we saw how much money we were making off of it, we were sending once a week. We didn't send once a week of the same thing. We didn't do an offer every week, like 40% off. We didn't do a new property announcement every week. We were varying it with, we had, okay, this week's going to be information about the area, new restaurants, new developments. The next one's going to be introducing a property. The next week's going to be a deal. And maybe the last one of that month was we would group properties together in some themed way. Our favorite properties with hot tubs. Have you ever stayed ski and ski out? These are our 3 biggest homes, something interesting. But we were cranking those puppies and we did not have much unsubscribe action. Tim, what are your thoughts?
I think we sort of agree on this in the sense that if I have subscribed to something and I am segmented, I'm hopeful you are not sending me an email every single week. From a vacation rental manager's perspective, yes, we send emails every single week. Our goal is 6 a month, which I talked to some people at VRMA and was asking, hey, how many you send? Somebody said 1. You got to pick up your game. Another person said, oh, we send emails out about twice a month, and they send them to everybody. The same thing. That's not what I'm talking about. But if I'm on a segmented list and you're hitting me once a week, my IT guy has set up my email so that if I don't read a certain sender's email, it becomes junk mail. And so I caution about sending it every week because I may not look at it every time. It came to my inbox, and if I didn't read it this time, maybe I put it in the follow-up folder or whatever. After 3 weeks, it suddenly goes to the junk email. So I don't know if things have gotten smarter on that, but don't overdo it would be my point. If you get the content that's interesting and obviously they like your area, they're going to be opening the email. So it's just a sort of a disagreement on that.
I want the tech guy to set that up for me on my email. I agree with you. I think it can be too much. First of all, I want to take a moment to talk to the small company listener here. If you are doing it once a month, if you're not doing it all, do it once a month. Don't be intimidated by Tim saying you got to step up your game, but you can do it once a month. But after you start doing it once a month and you see that it's quite easy, start doing it once a week. And I would say Tim's advice is really good, is you don't have to send it to the same giant group every time, segment it. Because what we're trying to do here, okay, is to hit somebody when they're thinking about booking. And we're not always sure when that is. So you want to stay top of mind. You don't want to send something every quarter, because if you send something in September and late in October, they decide to make their booking, they can't remember your name or I don't know. So they just go look on VRBO. But if you're hitting them pretty consistently, I would say every 2 weeks, so each person, then when it comes top of mind, they're like, oh, book with them again. That's right. That's who I really enjoyed staying with.
Number 4, we've already pretty much covered, but make sure you don't always make it a sales email. Way too many vacation rental emails are like this. 20% off next week. Think about your own perspective when you get an email blast. I got one today from my gas company. Said, you get $100 if you install a Renai water heater. Like, oh, good. I sent them an email back. Where do I get my $100? I've had a Renai water heater for 2 years. Oh, that was just for new customers, sir. You want to install a second Renai? Like, no, but you might want to clean up your emails.
Great point. I'm going to have to rant for a second. I don't even like a promotion in any e-blast. And you guys might be like, what are you talking about? But you are training your audience if you put price discounts in your e-blast too often. Because what it says is, yeah, you're top of mind, but don't ever click on that until you see something that has an offer that you want off of the total price. Don't ever pay full price for that company. That company is always doing deals. And if that's the kind of company you have and that's your philosophy, I'm not judging you. But if you don't want to be a discount provider and you're not always offering deals, then don't put them in your e-blast very much. Guys, you can get really good response rates and bookings from your e-blast by providing helpful content. People want to know about this place they come back to all the time. They want to know about new restaurants. They want to see you as the expert and the great customer service company you are. You know, you don't want them only clicking on your e-blast because you're offering a free night stay. What do you think about, Tim?
Do you remember a company called Jiffy Lube?
Yes.
You old enough to remember that?
Yeah, they're not around anymore.
Well, I think they are. They've been bought and rebranded. But they got to a point where they had so many discount coupons out there that nobody did business with them unless they had a coupon.
Oh, yeah, like Bed Bath & Beyond.
Right.
If anybody ever bought anything at Bed Bath & Beyond that didn't have the 20% coupon, what's wrong with you?
Yeah.
Well, they're out of business.
Yeah, well, even the person at the checkout counter was, oh, you don't have a coupon? I have one right here.
Yes. Yes. So please don't be a discount company. That's not what these e-blasts are all about. All right. Number 5, the types. We've talked about it a little bit. Let's focus in. Okay. Introducing a new property is a great e-blast. There are a lot of Lookie Loos out there. Now, if you have lower end, 1-bedroom, average condos, maybe don't intro me to the condo that looked like every other condo you had. But especially if you're someone that's taking on bigger homes, interesting homes with Instagram moments, send me that. I want to look at it. Now, I probably won't buy it. We've noticed that when we do intro, or we noticed, past tense, when we did intro emails of properties, that property didn't necessarily book. That was more of keeping that person interested. You have lots of new inventory. Aren't you great? For when they are ready. Another one I mentioned is newsletter format. New restaurants, new activities in the area. For us, Tim, we have a resort. So we're talking about the new gondola that's being put in right now. Snow alerts for us. Maybe for you, there are no hurricane alerts. What might be an alert for you?
Well, how about something going on in the local community? We have OB Xmas this year. It's pretty cool. The 12 bars of Christmas. Things
totally. Like activities, wine festivals, things that make an excuse for your drive-to market to decide to come. Absolutely. And notice when, you have one of those events, like we had Jazz Fest in Winter Park. Those guests came every time. So we had an email list just for Jazz Fest, and we only served them Jazz Fest announcements about who was going to play next year, et cetera. We also, like I said, did that groups of properties and themes, and you can get really creative with that. You can do best kitchens. It's almost like real estate. It's like best porches, best fire pits, whatever you might do. It's keeping them interested in something they might want to know. Best game rooms. They love that. So get creative, right? Make the receiver think that every time you e-blast them, there might be something different or new and information in there. And then, of course, include your local partners. Brag to the local partners you talked about them, whether it's a restaurant, activity, et cetera. And then we talked about booking anniversary. Do you have more, Tim? I bet you do.
I'm sure we do, but I'm listening to you thinking, gosh, those people who are already on the fence have just jumped off. They're scared. I have to hire somebody new to do all of this.
Oh, yeah.
So
let's keep talking to that listener. Don't worry about it. Just send a nice little general e-blast to your list.
It's like, Dory, just keep swimming. Just keep swimming. It's all good. So on to the next one. Number 6, I think, is where we are, and that's professional looking and the template. So you are recognizable. There are templates out there, but you can also hire somebody to create one and make sure they know it's you when it comes along. Make sure as well on the bottom, you can highlight properties, you can put your social links, videos, but my tips would be make sure it's easy to read, make sure it's brief, and make sure your pictures load fast. God knows I get one from the Chamber of Commerce every week. It's one sentence and a picture that never loads. My God, people, come on. Why
Yes.
are you doing this? It's killing me.
So it's a great investment, I think, to go out and have someone professionally create your e-blast template. And then they make you one that you can easily edit every time. So you don't have to go to that company every time to create, to build that specific e-blast, but you have a pretty template. We always at the bottom put book direct, save. We had a fun picture of one of our staff. There's lots of things you can put in there so that you only have to really edit the beginning part as the content and have all that good information at the bottom. Tim, you have great professional templates. Who built yours?
It was done in-house. I have some very unique and specific talent in that area. So I'm very fortunate on that. And I recognize that. So,
and I noticed from your e-blast that you have certain sections that show up every time. You have the same font, but then you have very creative themes for your subject title, but we'll get to that in a second.
We will. Hey, before we take a break with Paul, if you had to make a choice between beauty and frequency, which would you do?
Well, that's just because I love beauty. I think frequency, if without beauty, ruins your brand.
There you go. Okay. Good
What do
tip.
you think? What's your answer?
I like it. I think you're exactly right. If you can't do it right, don't do it.
Mm-hmm.
So start there. And then once you start doing it right, you can do it more often. I hope Paul agrees with us because we're going to take a partner break here. ICND, Paul Hanak, our guy, who's talking about this very subject.
So I've got more of a controversial email marketing tip for everybody. Hi, I'm Paul Hanak. I'm the marketing director at Intercoastal Net Designs. My tip is your open rates are pretty irrelevant. Yeah, I said it. But hear me out. Hang on. So if you're striving for a industry standard rate, we'll say 15, 20%, whatever it is, you're not doing an apples to apples comparison. Your list compared to company X and company Y may be completely different. And it's different because the sign-up source for those emails that you acquired is completely different. When did they sign up? Where did they sign up from? Was it a contact form? Was it a specific ask to be sent a newsletter? How engaged are they now versus how engaged were they then? The engagement rate of when they signed up is just as important as your open rates. It transfers to that. So even though you might not have a great open rate, that doesn't matter. Compare it with yourself. Make yourself better with over time, with better open rates, better engagement. Get them hooked back in. And you do that with good content, good subject lines. And the best content comes from people that want to open your email regardless of whether or not they're in that market for a vacation at that time. They want to see what you have to say. Even if they don't open the email, that's still a good brand recognition month after month, time after time, that's in their inbox for when they are ready, they'll come back. Hope that helps, guys.
Those were two that we wouldn't have thought of, Tim. Great segue. Thank you, Paul. Always good advice from ICND. We're moving on with our list. Let's keep going. We have 14. We're on number 7, call to action, CTA. Be sure your e-blast has some call to action. It can be book direct and save. It can be, yes, if you're offering a deal. It can be come to Jazz Fest. It can be click and look at this property more that we're introducing. whatever it is, encourage someone to click and move forward. Encourage them to interact with your eblast.
Yeah, you jumped into number 8 on that too. Those links. Make sure those links are in there. It's the call to action. Make sure your logo links. Make sure your photos link. Make sure the names of the house link. I know it takes a minute, but it's worth it. That's number 8.
Oh my gosh. And how many times did we send eblast that we used our template and forgot to update the links? And then the homeowner would be like, you showed my property, but it linked to Bridger's Cash 207 or whatever.
We were just seeing if you were paying attention.
Oh, it's the worst. So make sure you're updating your links, especially for homeowners who might notice. Okay, you just did 8. That was 8, by the way. 9 is, what a good segue. Always include all your homeowners on your emails. Tim and I might disagree again on this one, but I believe this. Because your homeowners need to see that you are on it, that you are pushing properties, that you're pushing the area, that you have beautiful eblasts. I mean, especially include the owners if their home is on there. And we've all done it. Those of us that eblast, a homeowner that complains a lot and says they don't have enough bookings, you put them on the eblast and then you send them the eblast and go, look, we promoted your property. So, okay, why do you disagree with me on this,
Well,
Tim?
you just qualified it at the end. The initial note said always include all owners on your emails. I'm not going to do that because
Why?
I know you have this wonderful cadre of owners that worship you and never question anything you do, and they're always fully booked. But if you happen to have an owner who thinks they know more than you, they're going to rip you to shreds about why wasn't my house on that email? I'm missing the week in July and you guys aren't doing what you're supposed to do. I would send them the email with his in there, though. So,
okay, we didn't have that happen, and we sent it to
No.
owners every time.
yeah, you had special owners.
All right, well,
No,
that's
no.
a past tense. I don't do it anymore, but
Yeah.
okay, well, you guys can decide. I vote send them to all homeowners, especially when they're not about certain properties. Like, we're talking about, what about, for example, Tim, you're promoting OBXmas or whatever it's called. Do you copy the homeowners?
Okay, you've beaten me down on this. Okay. But I think there are people in their car right now on Team Tim going, I'm not sending that email to that owner. So,
What was that other thing on Team Tim? Oh, the don't leave spices. Just to follow up on that, the home we just stayed in, it didn't have any olive oil. Chris was out of his mind mad. So still don't agree with you on no spices. Okay.
Number 10 is next. Tracking code for conversion. So you need to follow your emails each month. That's the whole point. Don't send an email without knowing if it's going to be successful or not. You need a way to track the conversion of the emails. I would encourage your marketing team to have meetings with your reservations team on a weekly basis to know how things are going. Are we getting calls, et cetera? But also have that data to say, you know what? This email converted 8 bookings. Amazing.
Yeah. Like Paul says, open rates don't matter.
Mm-hmm.
It's whether it converts to a booking. We didn't have this tracking code you can put in eblast until probably like 4 years ago. It's this is going to freak people out, but I'll try to find the information on it and post it. It's just a little invisible code. The guest doesn't see it. The potential guest doesn't see it, but it's code in your eblast that if they click on any of those links and then they book online, you're able to run a report and see the money that booked from that eblast. So this is, yes, if someone just calls and they dial in the number and they book, that won't show that it converted. So you can actually always assume it's even higher. But every month, Lee, my marketing manager, would produce a report to me that listed all 4 or 5, or to your point, Tim, if you're doing well, 6 emails a month. And it would show how much money we made on each. It was cool. And I will tell you, at a year of that, more than paid for Lee and her salary. Way more. Way more. So these really work, and it shows what works. And what's also interesting about that is you could see what types of emails made money. Like the Lookie Loo one doesn't make that much money. The ones that really worked were the newsletter type or a specific property group.
It works. Do it. What's number 11, Sarah?
Number 11 is A/B testing. This also could freak somebody out because it used to freak me out, but it's really easy to do in these email platforms. And basically, you're testing subject lines. So subject lines matter a lot. Do not make your subject lines like, come visit Winter Park. And the next one's Winter Park lodging options. Make them creative and test them. So in an email program that you're doing these eblasts, every program I know of lets you put a subject line and then another subject line. And then you can have it split your list and it sends randomly. And then it shows you your open. You can actually do different tracking codes, but you can see the difference. And over time, you start seeing, does the super kitschy, funny eblast title work? Or is it more the straightforward one? And you can fine tune how you get the attention of that recipient. Do you do this?
Not as much anymore because I think we found our pace and pattern on this, but we did a lot of this. Maybe we need to start doing it again. More on subject lines in a minute. But number 12 is stop gathering emails from contests just to have a bigger list. We've tested it. They sign up to win a contest. They don't engage with their brand. Open rates are poor. So you wind up paying for all these extra emails with no payoff, quality over quantity. We actually used to go to travel shows and we would give away a week at the beach. And we'd come home and our measure of success was, we got 1,000 names. This is great. We got 0 return. Not great.
It's a great point. And Paul Hanak from ICND also backs this one up, that they've done bigger testing on larger across lots of companies, that this really doesn't work. I mean, I personally don't like getting the email from the homepage. Do you do that pop-up, Tim?
We do.
Is it working?
No, it's not.
I just think it's annoying when you have to type that in.
It is annoying. I know. This has been an internal subject a few times. I'm not a fan, but I'm still doing it.
Thank you for it. You're so genuine.
I am transparent.
13, number 13 is back to subject lines. They are the name of the game. And so besides A/B testing them, without a good subject line that captures attention and creates curiosity, the email won't even be opened. And remember, opened means someone actively looks at it. Who cares if they click to delete it, right? And don't worry what opened means, but you want someone to engage with your content. And if you need some inspiration, creativity isn't quite your thing, you can Google good email subject lines, find out different keywords that work well. But let's face it, guys, we've got ChatGPT. If you haven't downloaded that yet, it's free. Just type in good email subject line for Winter Park Christmas vacation rental stays or whatever. So Tim's going to try that right now on ChatGPT. We're going to live try this out. All right, Tim, what are you typing in to ChatGPT?
Good vacation rental email subject line for Winter Park Christmas stays.
Perfect. And what does it say?
Cozy winter wonderland awaits in Winter Park this Christmas.
I mean, not bad. I bet there's more. You can try different words and get a lot of great subject lines. And maybe you change it, but it gets you started, right?
Absolutely. Why go to the effort yourself when computers can do it for you? I tell you what, all you have to do is look at your inbox and see the bad ones. I'm looking at some here now thinking, you think I was going to open that?
Right?
My Lord, give it some effort. Okay, so that's subject lines. And number 14 would be check and recheck and recheck for grammar and spelling errors before you hit send. Oh my gosh, everybody in my staff knows that. Everything speaks. Sarah, I think you've got an example of this.
Oh, I have so many examples, but the one that I'll just never forget is so when you see my examples, we always had a big picture and then we put big text right on top of the main picture. And we were sending one, somehow it said, go ahead and book next winter so you have peace of mind, you have your vacation set.
Great idea. Yes.
I mean, Al and I especially, and Lee, we were obsessed with grammar and spelling errors. We would all check it a million times because we hated sending stuff, that had an error. And sure enough, we missed it, a word that's spelled correctly, but it's the wrong context. And we sent it out, big words, peace, Piece of mind. Oh my gosh. We were like, did that really happen? And of course, by this time, we had a list of 20,000 names that got to see peace of mind. So when you check your eblast, make sure you're really using your brain and thinking about it, because some words are spelled correctly. That doesn't work for that sentence.
Okay. So that's 14 winners for you. But there's one more thing we need to talk about. Who takes this on at your company? Ideally, maybe a graphic designer creates your template. You said that earlier. Or maybe you have somebody who is on staff who's really good with the weekly and the monthly and can create that template for you. It's really hard to outsource this. I've tried. By the time you communicate everything to be in it, edit it, and go through 42 emails, you might as well just done it yourself.
And then it really gets costly too. I mean, the return is amazing, but you don't want to be spending $1,000 in eblast, right? You want to have the template, be able to edit that internally, and go for it. And really, companies will tell you they can do it, but they don't know your area. That was my issue when we tried to outsource it once, and they were just writing content that didn't make sense. So I encourage you to do this internally, as Tim currently does, and I used to do. And I want to go back to the tracking code. Even if you can't figure out how to put tracking code in your eblast right away, I'm telling you, Tim's telling you, these make bookings, okay? These make direct bookings too. No paying OTA fees or anything. OTAs are sending eblasts, so clearly they work. So do it, you guys, and you will add money to your bottom line. Thank you. You're welcome. Merry Christmas.
There you have it. The top 14 ways to blast your email marketing into a booking machine. Great job. Hey, stay tuned. You're going to want to hear the extra on this.
We got something special for you. See you next time. Bye, Tim.
So long, everybody.
What up, dogs? It's the Snoop DOWG, and I just beat the Vacation Rental Managers podcast with Sarah and T, hosted by Timmy C of Outer Banks and Sandwich Blues, and Sarah B. She owns rental companies in Colorado, and now gives the 411 to other vacation rental companies to thrive and grow. Today's episode was brought to you by Intercoastal Net Designs. ICND is an award-winning web development and digital marketing agency that specializes in helping vacation rental companies get more direct bookings. ICND.net is their website. Special thanks to ICND for hosting Sarah and T's website. Reach to the hosts on Facebook, LinkedIn, or on their website, sarahand.t.com. Snoop says lay down a 5-star review on your favorite podcast app. Even better, if you're down with this episode, share it with a friend. Sarah and T will be back soon with a new episode of the VRMP. And that's what's up.
Thanks, Snoop Dogg.